Welcome everybody to the Tuesday night shiur that we have in Chassidus in English, right here at Chabad of Rechavia. And those of you joining us from near and those of you joining us from far is greatly appreciated. In the last shiur, we talked about how each one of the four methods of interpreting the Torah, Pshat, Remez, Drush, and Sod, how they learn the Modeh, how we understand the Modeh according to those different interpretations. Then, towards the end of the class, we learned that Chasidus has an interpretation which is far and beyond from the other ones. And that is that Chasidus always looks at the essence. That's the whole key of this discourse. The essence of Chasidus. So it's not just the essence of Chasidus, but it's moreover, Chasidus is the essence of everything and every interpretation in Torah. So when it comes to Modeh, of course, I thank Hashem for giving us back our soul, for giving me back my soul. But what's the deep message over here? The deep message is that Hashem is giving me back my soul, and this moment when my soul comes into my body in the morning, that is the highest moment possible, because that's the igniting, so to speak. It's there before, but this is like the igniting of the energy for the entire day. So at that moment, we say Modeh, and here's the key, no impurity in the world can in any way contaminate, quote unquote, this pure and authentic verse of Modeh. By the way, the video this week for Parashat Shoftim that's going to be coming out Be'ezrat Hashem in a couple of days is related to the idea of the sincerity and purity. So you have what to look forward to, hopefully every week, but it's connected to this point. Now we're going to learn how Chasidus doesn't only have its own interpretation. Are you ready for this? But how Chasidus adds to each one of the other four. So it's not just that you have Pshat, and you have Remez, and Drush, and Sod, and you also have Chasidus. Chasidus, the interpretation of Chasidus adds tremendously to each one of the four. Unbelievable. Page 65. Hachayut shechasidus machnisa b'chelek hapshat shebamodeh. The vitality that Chasidus introduces into the simple meaning of the Torah, the simple meaning of the Modeh. What do we say is the simple meaning? Shehahoda'ahi al shechazarta b'nishmasi. That the thanking to Hashem is for the fact that He gave me back my neshama. So how does Chasidus add to this? Hu hadgasha b'perush nishmasi, nishama sheli. That it's my neshama that Hashem gave me back this morning. Zot omeret, that means shekol ha'oda'ahi al achzarat nishmat yudi. The thanking Hashem is specifically for giving me the neshama, the Jewish neshama, the neshama of a yid that we have. V'ilu hayu machzirim lo neshama aval acheret. If they would give back, if Hashem would give back a different neshama, there are these concepts of sometimes neshamas being intertwined with other neshamas. There is this Kabbalistic concept. Lo haya modeh. There wouldn't be this idea of the thank you. Of course, it's nice, thank you very much, but the essential bond that we have with Hashem, that's the Jewish neshama, the neshama Yehudi. That's why Modeh. That's why I thank. If I can add on one more point, why are we called Yehudim? Jews were Yehudim. Number one, because we're from Yehuda, from Judah. That's a simple meaning. Many of us are from the tribe of Yehuda. But even if not, what's the main idea of a Yehudi? That he praises Hashem. He thanks Hashem. He admits to Hashem. So, actually, are you ready for this? Yehuda. Let's take Yehuda, right? That's the main name of Am Yisrael. So there are 5 letters. If you take the first 3 and the last one, take out the Dalet for a second, of Yehuda, then you have Hashem's name. So it's almost as if in this great name of Yehuda, we have Hashem's name engraved in us. You look at a Yehudi, you look at a Yid, you look at a Jew, and right away you see on his forehead that Hashem is shining through him. So that's why the moment that we wake up, what's the first thing that comes to mind? My neshama, my Jewish neshama, my godly soul, not only a regular neshama that every object in the world has, but the Jewish neshama that came to me. Wow, what a big zchut! That's like the essence of the neshama that we learned in last year, that cannot be contaminated by anything in the world. You look like you have something to say.
What if it's another Jew's neshama?
Then it's okay, as long as it's a Jewish neshama. That's the punchline. That's the key over here. Ki mitzad herat hayechida, because of the shine of Yechida, nirgash etzlo, it felt by him, shechayim him. The Yechida is that highest level. Because the Yechida, at this moment when he wakes up, comes into him, see, he feels that it's alive. There was one guy that said an interesting statement. He asked someone else, are you alive because, God forbid, there was no accident that happened to you? Or are you alive because you're alive? What does that mean? Some people are alive, they're not doing anything meaningful in their lives. They're just alive because they happen to be still alive. Or alive means life, full of life, full of, the Rebbe said very often that it's based on what the previous Rebbe said, that the age doesn't make much of a difference. The previous Rebbe said that the age doesn't go according to the passport. I don't know if the Interior Ministry would buy that. But in ruach, in spirit, definitely that's what defines our age. In other words, is a person youthful? And a person could be 90. Or we have someone in our shul, Walter, Baruch Hashem, for many happy years. He just did a kiddush this week, and in 5 months he'll be 100. And he says on a good day he feels like he's 40, and on a bad day he feels like he's 50. So that's Walter. In 5 months, Bezrat Hashem, he'll be 100, January 5th. So he's planning on doing skydiving. When he was 95 for his birthday, he did skydiving with a 45-second free fall. This time he's going to do it in Akko. And he's inviting us all to come and to be there with him. I'm not going to try it, but he's definitely going to try it. But this time he told us when the Kiddush, he's going to go higher, and therefore the free fall is going to be longer than 45 seconds. So I wish him all the best. What I'm trying to say is that youthful can be also Baruch Hashem at 99. And there are some people that at 20, Hashem should protect us. They don't move themselves. So the age doesn't necessarily it's not only decided by the passport, rather by a person's ruach. So that's what it means, Chaim. Modeh nilufanecha. A person realizes, hey, I'm alive, Baruch Hashem, it's amazing. If I'm alive, so what does it mean I'm alive? That I'm alive like an animal, which is good. Animal is wonderful. But is that what a person is? Be like an animal? Should be much higher. We can accomplish much more than what an animal can accomplish. So when we say that we are alive and we have a neshama, what's that neshama which really identifies that we are alive? Not just alive like staying in bed all day and just wasting away the life. But alive and accomplishing and turning over the world and building stuff and doing great things, that's Chaim Yehudiyim Dafka. That's specifically the Jewish life. To learn Torah, do mitzvahs, and inspire the world, that's called really being alive. And the life of flesh for itself, within its estimation, it's not really life. It's not. I guess the person, technically speaking, if the doctor will take his pulse, he'll say that he's alive. But is that what alive really means? I'll give you another example. The Alter Rebbe said to one of the great Chasidim, I think it was Rabbi Yekutia Lepler, great Chassid of the Alter Rebbe, lived about 200 years ago. And the Alter Rebbe gave him a bracha that he should have long life. So the Chassid responded something that I don't think many people would respond. He gave a condition. What was the condition? He said, first let me say in Yiddish, because it sounds the best in Yiddish. Aber nicht poyerish hayoren. But I don't want the life of a, I don't know what the word is, a schlepper. I don't know exactly how to translate poyerish. But, you give me a bracha for long life? Thank you very much. But I want it to be years of life. You know what I mean? There's life, and then there's life. There's two different worlds. And when we say Modeh Ani, thank you Hashem for giving me back my neshama, my soul, that's what we're thanking Him for. Thank you for bringing me alive, that for giving my neshama, my Jewish soul. And that is ultimately what is going to bring Mashiach. Because we are going to do all the mitzvahs that Hashem expects of us. Top of 67. Even though life of flesh is also very important, we can't minimize in a regular person that's not Jewish, or lahavdil, to separate an animal, it's also important. So, for sure, a regular person that's not Jewish, that's alive, that's nothing to underestimate. So the Rebbe says we're not underestimating it. We're just speaking about a specific issue now. We're not saying if it's important or not. Of course it's important. All we're saying is, at this moment when you wake up, what is the first thing in the top of your mind? That we have a Jewish neshama. We are children of the king. So if you're a prince and a princess, then you have a lot more to thank Hashem for. Not, God forbid, for putting anybody down, just for the fact that we are special. We're not going with a banner and shunning other people down, God forbid. We're just trying to explain what is the theme, what is the quality that we're supposed to have in the mind, the kavanah, intention, when we say the Modeh Ani in the morning. What is the concept of life when it comes to a prince? His connection, his bond with his father the king. Because without the king, he's not a prince. There's no prince and there's no king. So he says, okay, I woke up now I'm the prince. Oh, hey, 1 second. My father is the king. Wow. How many people in this country or in the world can say that? So therefore, it's not only an honor and a privilege, it's also a responsibility. It's a package deal. In Hebrew they say, echad plus echad, 1 plus 1. They try to get you to buy things. So they say, buy one, get one free. So it's 1 plus 1. I don't think it's real, because it gives you the other price, but it depends when. But you want to be the son of a king? That's wonderful. But together, it's a package. Or in Hebrew they say package. So if you have the privileges and you also have the responsibility. But if they will give the prince life, they'll let him continue to live, but they'll cut and paste. They'll move him to the other end of the world. They will disconnect him from his father, the king, V'yachnisuhu l'refet l'chyot chaye behema. They will put him into a stable to live like an animal. This is obviously an extreme, the other extreme, from being the son of a king to the other extreme. Not only will he not have any pleasure from being in a stable, but moreover, he will be disgusted and despise his life. Because if you take his pulse, it'll show that his heart is beating. But that's not what life is about. When Hashem wants us to live, that's not what He intended. Okay, let's do the English on page 64.
Not 66.
64. You are the manager of the book. Are we on?
Huh?
Very good.
64.
Very good. A awakening from sleep, the restoration of a Jewish soul. The vitality of the Chassidus introduces into the level of Pshat, of Modeh. The idea that the thanksgiving is expressed for restoring my soul within me lies in the emphasis in the word Nishmati, my soul. That's the key word over here, according to the Chassidus interpretation. That is to say, that all the gratitude is for the restoration of a Jewish soul. That is, let's move on. Beginning of one word into the fourth line. That is to say, that all the gratitude is for the restoration of the Jewish soul. If a different soul were to be restored into the person, that of a non-Jew or a bondsman, even though that other soul would also revive him, technically, from the state of 1/60th of death to life. Because that's really what sleep is, 1/60th of death. So technically, he would be alive, because that amount of life would be enough to keep him alive. He would not give thanks. In other words, he would be appreciative, but this sentence of Modeh does not apply in that scenario. For through the illumination of the Yechida, the essence of the soul, he feels deeply within him that life is Jewish life only. This is life of man. Adam, you are called Adam, wherein the spirit of man is that which rises upward. The life of the flesh by itself, life of an animal, the nation that is compared to a donkey or labeled donkey, wherein the spirit of the animal descends, top of 66 downward, in his estimation is not life at all. And he has no reason to give thanks for it. Now, here's the question that we asked earlier. Though the physical life is assured also very assuredly, also a very important state of existence, so how could you say that it's only by a Jewish neshama? Every being of Hashem has an important role in the collective picture of Hashem's global plan, especially if it's a human life, then for sure it's special. Yet, here's the answer, all Israel are sons of kings. And the concept of life for a prince is his bond with his father, the king, which is very rare, because usually, the way kings used to be, olden days, real kings that people felt distant from and in awe of. So to have a bond with the king, a real bond, that's a prince, that's the child, a boy or a girl. If a prince were to be offered life, but one in which he would be torn from his father, the king, and brought to a stable to live as an animal, that's the other extreme. He would not only not enjoy such an existence, but on the contrary, he would be thoroughly disgusted by and despise his life. And here's the story that we mentioned earlier. Like it's known the story of Rabbi Kasil, the great Chassid of the Alter Rebbe, when the Alter Rebbe blessed him with long life. People that have life meaningless of Torah, it's like the expression that we say in the Tehillim. It's actually in today's Tehillim by Divine Providence, chapter 135, and in other places, that they have eyes but they can't see. They have ears but they can't hear. They don't see godliness. They don't hear godliness. That's the story that we said earlier. Seemingly there's a wonder over here. When you give a gift to a person, and specifically a great gift, how could he have the guts, I said that nicely, to tell the Alter Rebbe, thank you but no thank you. He's going to give you a bracha now for long life. Are you making conditions? He's only going to take the gift only if it's qualitative years and not wasted years. Since longevity is a great thing in and of itself, regardless of how you spend your time, and specifically, like we said earlier, that the enjoyment of life includes all enjoyments. How could Rabbi Yukasil give conditions in the bracha? And he'll only take it only if it's qualitative years. Rabbi Kasil, the answer is he wasn't trying to add in the bracha. He wasn't trying to say, oh, you're giving me a bracha, but I want to add in the bracha. That's not what he was saying. He was saying, in the bracha itself, I want to make sure that your bracha is real. Because if the bracha is just for ticking time and having many years, but not learning Torah and not doing mitzvahs, not doing quality things, then that's not called life. Ki'im, the second to last line in the Hebrew. Sha'arichas yamim tiyah metzias shoymei chayim. Ki hayam munach abgelegt etzah b'pashtus shekol metzias hachayus horiyas shmei zelkus. Rabbi Yukasil understood in the most simple terms that what is life? Life with meaning. And if there's no meaning, that's not life. It's not like he was saying, okay, thank you for the bracha, but I want more. He wasn't saying I want more. He said, I want this bracha. Therefore, he made a condition, but not years of wasted years. Because days and years that they do not see godliness, it was nothing. It wasn't considered years as far as Rabbi Kasil was concerned. But Adarab, on the contrary, Ma'as, he was disgusted with these kinds of days and years. It's a very, very deep concept. Maybe we could add to this that we say that Avraham Zaken Baba Yamim, Avraham was old, he came with his days. But this says in the pasuk, but Hashem berachet Avraham bakol, and Hashem blessed Avraham with bakol, with everything. What does bakol mean? Everything. There are different interpretations of what everything means. Excuse me. But why does it say that he was old and he came with all his days? Obviously, if he's old, he came with it. He can't become 100 if he missed out a week in his 50s. Because you have to come with all your days, right? That's even someone that's young has to come with all his days. How much more someone who's old must have all of his days with him, no? The answer is that on a deeper level, there are two things over here. There's the Zaken, that Avram was old. And there's a second thing, that Baba Yamim, he came with his days. What does that mean? Not just that he took a suntan and the time ticked away, the clock ticked away, and he finished an entire day. Rather, every day was filled with whatever Hashem expected him to do on that very day. So, for example, 6 days a week we put on our tefillin. Shabbos, we do not put on tefillin. It's not expected of us to put on tefillin on Shabbos. So someone's going to come along and say, one second. I need to put on my tefillin on Shabbos because the Torah says that you have to tie your tefillin every day. Obviously, we need the Talmud to tell us that tefillin is called a sign. and Shabbos is a sign, so a sign that Hashem exists in the world. And so when you have Shabbos, you don't need to have tefillin. But so that's what Avram did. Avram Avinu, every day he did the mitzvahs that were expected of him on that specific day. So this, now we understand what it means, Baba Yamin. Baba Yamim, he came with his days, doesn't only mean that he counted the tiles or counted the stars. But every day was full of quality. And now we can understand what it means that Rabbi Yekutil wanted to ask the Alter Rebbe that he should have years of health and quality and learning. That's called real days. Let's go back to 66, please. Middle of the page, in the parentheses. As is known in the famous story of Rabbi Kusil Lepler, when the Alter Rebbe wanted to give him a blessing for long life, Rabbi Kusil said, but not with peasant years. Not the life of a peasant who have eyes and do not see, ears do not hear, who do not see the divine and do not hear the divine. At first glance, though, this response is most surprising. When someone is offered a gift, especially a great gift, it is not appropriate for him to say that he will not accept it unless the gift is made even larger. And inasmuch as long life itself is a great thing, especially in light of what was mentioned earlier, that the pleasure and benefit of life includes in itself all other pleasures and benefits in the world, how then could Rabbi Kusil stipulate conditions for the blessing? The explanation, however, is, as we said earlier, that Rabbi Kusil's stipulation was not that the measure of the blessing be increased. That would be a chutzpah. Well, your bracha is not enough, I need more. But rather that his longevity should be a true existence of living days. That's a real bracha. The Alter Rebbe wanted to give him a bracha for long years. He wanted it should be qualitative years. For it was absolutely basic and self-evident to him that all true existence in life consists in perceiving, seeing, and hearing godliness. Hence, he made the condition, but not with peasant years. Because to him, days and years without seeing and hearing the divine could not be considered existence at all. On the contrary, he despised such days and years. Last paragraph of this chapter. Now we're going to go to 69, second paragraph of the page. How can a person feel? How can a person bring themselves to feel that life is only qualitative years? That comes when you have the revelation of the highest level of the soul, Yechida, because that's quality, that's meaningful. If you look from a perspective of the first four levels, we're middle of 69. Since they have a specific, a particular formation, picture, image, they have a concept for themselves. But the godliness of them is like an addition to them. They have themselves. Plus, they try to bring Hashem into their own lives. That's on the four lower levels. Of course, a person can choose to learn a lot of Chassidus, and that will be very healthy for his neshama. But it's possible that he might not realize that. On the other hand, the level of Yechida, the whole idea is that he's unified with Hashem. There's nothing else besides for Hashem. That's it. There's only Hashem. So when Rabbi Kusil realized that it could be years which are wasted years, he said, if that would be the case, then thank you, but no thank you. This is like it says in another mimer, the last mimer that the Rebbe edited before his stroke. The Rebbe said that when Mashiach comes, there's going to be the essence of godliness will shine in the entire world. And if there's, here's the punchline, if there is a little corner at the end of the world, that there is not this light of the essence of Hashem shining there, then that's a proof that it's not the essence. Because if it was the essence, it would permeate everything. It's exactly what it says over here. The essence of Hashem, if the essence is shining, then you realize that it's all about the Jewish neshama. Because the Jewish neshama is the one which is quality, which is bringing the person the energy and the life, the vitality, to be able to accomplish more mitzvahs. And therefore, when you realize that, the moment that the neshama comes back into your body, then we say, Modeh ani lefanecha melech shechazarta bi nishmati, gave me my neshama, my Jewish neshama. Because when you come from a perspective of yichida, of the essence, then there's nothing else besides for Hashem. You see clearly, it's evident in the entire world that there's only Hashem. Let's do this paragraph in English. Such a feeling comes only from the manifestation of the Yechida. The four categories of Narnach are cast in a particular form: intellectual attributes, emotional attributes, etc., and are therefore entities of a sort, and the divinity in them is as an additional aspect, not of their essence. Consequently, these four levels also have a measure of accommodation and potentiality, albeit very subtle, for life without perceiving, seeing, and hearing godliness. Because there can be a situation that the godliness is not part and parcel of the individual. In contrast, the level of Yechida, which by definition is union with the essence of God, gives utterly no allowance for, nor significance to, anything else but Hashem. From the lenses of the Yechida, there's only Hashem. That's it. And so therefore, we view our mission in the world in a different view. All of a sudden we see our mission, when you look from a Yechida perspective, from the lenses of Yechida, we're totally immersed, we're totally involved in fulfilling our mission at every moment of the day. So today we learned the interpretation, the fascinating interpretation of Modeh ani, that Chassidus adds into the pshat, into the quote-unquote simple meaning of Modeh ani. And then in the next year we'll do Be'ezrat Hashem the Remez, the Drash, and the Sod, the other parts of the Torah. Thank you so much for joining us today.